So if you want to live a joyful life and a spiritual life, there really is only one question that you have to ask yourself. And that question is the fact. Hey guys, it's John here back in the John of New Studios. And I wanted to hop on and talk to you about spirituality. I was on a private session earlier today and we were talking about the idea that God is too big to be encompassed by any one school of thought or religion. The idea that God is too big, for me personally, I find that I can find truth everywhere. When Yoda says, "Named must your fears be before banish it you can," I find God in that statement. When Shakespeare says, "There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in our philosophy," I find God in that statement. When I look at the idea of what you think you become, you create your world, I find God in that statement. You find these thoughts that just ring true to you as you go through your life, and those thoughts are either your truth or not. It's really up to you to decide. But the interesting thing is the idea of living a spiritual life or living a joyful, loving life, and are they antithetical? Because the one choice you really have to ask yourself is God love or is God jealousy and vengeance? Now, I specifically say it that way because the Old Testament says that God is a jealous and vengeful God. And the book of John in the New Testament says that God is love. And this contradiction makes for a very tough bit of spirituality, because should I be afraid of a jealous and vengeful God who has an omnipresent power of life and death and hell and damnation? Or do I believe that God is love and live a joyful, loving life, loving others and expressing love into the world? That is really the main question you have to ask yourself is God love or is God's jealousy, vengeance, and fear? And when you come to the aspect of that, when you're living your own joyful experience, do you feel bad about being happy? Do you feel bad about laughing and having fun? Well, in many regards, if you don't believe as somebody else does, then you're going to burn in hell, right? Or if you don't believe as someone else does, then you're not going to reach nirvana. Whatever the religion is. It comes down to what is true spirituality. Well, if you can find truth in all places like I do, I find it in the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the writings of Buddha. I find it in the teachings of the Baha'i faith. I find it in Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra, and I find it in Marvel movies, and I find it in Shakespeare. I find it everywhere. I find beautiful, loving truths everywhere. Now, I believe that God is too big for any one religion or school of thought. I believe that we live in this image of God. Like the Bible says, we are created in God's image. Everything we're experiencing is this image, this expression of God. And so you should be able to find the truth of God everywhere. And what's interesting is when you open your perspective and release the dogmas of religion and the constructs of fear and jealousy and vengeance, and you come back to a place that God is love, you start to see it everywhere. I often talk about when you read ancient text, you should put your love goggles on. Well, your love goggles are the things that show you what's loving. And the things that are fearful are showing you the mind of man trying to control God. And when you come to the idea that God is loving, you start to see it everywhere. And when you think about the idea of vengeance and jealousy and anger, you can see that everywhere too. But that anger and those jealousies and that vengeance is coming from religion, because God is love. When in their quote it says, "Our God is a jealous and vengeful God." It's God who is jealous and vengeful. The New Testament says God is love, period. It doesn't talk about an external God with jealousy and vengeance. When you come to the space of just realizing God is love and jealousy and vengeance is of the mind of man, and those jealousies and vengeance all come from fear, and those fears can always be broken down to the fear of not being loved in some form. When you start to realize that, it all comes back to love again. So if it all comes back to love, then God is love, because God is everything. God is omniscient. God is all that is. God is the Alpha, the Omega. Right? And when you look at it from that perspective, and God is love, then when you experience fearful, vengeful jealousies and anger and hate coming from a religious perspective, you understand that's not of love. That's of anger and fear. And those fears are the things that keep you separate from the source. When you look at your life, make this one decision. Is God love, or is God fear and jealousy and vengeance? If God is love, then you can exhale, can release all your fears and anxieties, because God is love. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for God is with me. For thou art with me. For love is with me. When you look at it from that perspective, the Bible itself says, I shall fear no evil, for love is with me. But then it says, God is jealous and vengeful, which is a fear. And is technically, I guess, evil, right? God is love. Be love, live a loving life, spread love, express love. When you express love, you're expressing God. When love is sent to you, you're experiencing God. God is that love. And all of that, all the rest of it, all of that negative stuff that they wrap around it, that's just fear. The Buddha said the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. Let go of fear. I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. And that's my thought on this, guys. Make your choice. Is God love, or is God fear? Put a comment below. Let me know what your thought is. Is it love, or is it fear? You can just say love or fear. It's up to you. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.